This questioner asks, how do you help the spiritual leader who is a workaholic for God and fails to address his own health, exercise, eating habits, etc.? Well, my first thought is, did I write this question? My second thought is, I need to repent. In all seriousness, though, I think this is an occupational hazard of those who are involved in ministry. And I think there's a number of factors to that, externally and then internally with regard to our hearts. I think externally there are several things that lead to a push toward workaholism. One is that the need is huge. The need is great. We live in a time when sin and suffering continue before Christ's second return. And he enlists us as believers to be involved in his kingdom ministry. That's taxing, that's costly, and so the need is great. Secondly, I think another factor is that as the church, we have high expectations for our leaders. We expect our leaders to be busy in ministry. No one goes into ministry expecting a short work week, and if they are, they've been seriously misinformed, and it doesn't take long until you find that's not the case. But I think there are these external pressures that contribute to spiritual workaholism. But ultimately, I think this problem is one of the heart. Ultimately, being overworked and failing to address issues of bodily health is really saying, I'm not content with living dependently and in submission to Christ as a body-spirit creature. There are a number of heart-related reasons why we fail to live within our dependence as body-spirit image bearers. I think one of those is that we struggle with fear of man sometimes. We struggle to say no. We feel like because demands are placed on us, we need to say yes, and we fear people's reaction if we say no. I think another heart-related issue is that we believe, in the words of the Carly Simon song, "Nobody does it better." There's this sense that unless I do it, it won't get done, or it won't get done right. And I think at the root of that are issues of control and a kind of almost quest for all-powerfulness, as opposed to realizing we simply don't have what it takes in our own strength and abilities to carry out ministry. How can we address this issue of workaholism in the spiritual leader? I think the first is recognizing that we are not indispensable. This is Christ's kingdom, Christ's ministry, and it is his good pleasure that raises up leaders for ministry in his church. And so if I die tomorrow, the work of Christ continues. If others that I know who are in ministry die or are incapacitated in some way, the work of Christ will continue. And I think that keeps us in a place of humility, keeps us in a place of dependence, and realizing that apart from Christ's strengths, we really are in a weak place. Secondly, I think I'm helped by a distinction that my former colleague Paul Tripp made regarding the difference between concern and responsibility. That is, that there are things in life that we, and only we, have responsibility for. We're gifted, we're specifically called to carry out this action or this ministry. No one else can do it. But then there's a whole host of things in life that we're concerned about, but God may not be calling us to be actively involved. In other words, that there are plenty of needs that don't constitute the call. And I think so often in leadership, that circle of responsibility increases and encroaches upon things that are concerns, and that can lead to workaholism. So I think it's important to begin to distinguish between those two. Thirdly, it's important to remember that God has built into creation rest, the Sabbath. And we need to realize that it's not simply because we are weak and frail and creaturely beings, although that's important to remember. We need rest, we need physical sustenance. But more importantly, that rest reminds us that we're not in control. It is God who rules the universe. It's God who carries out His kingdom work, and we are stewards of that, but we can stop, and the world is not going to fall apart because the Lord Himself does not stop.